15 years of marriage, no children, and a housemaid hiding dangerous secrets. When he made the proposal that was supposed to save their marriage, he didn't know he was sealing a pact that would destroy everything he believed in, including the discovery that she wasn't who she claimed to be. The pregnancy test fell from Sarah's trembling hands, clattering against the marble bathroom floor like a death sentence. Negative again. For the 15th time in 3 years, that cruel little minus sign mocked her dreams of motherhood. She pressed her back against the cool wall, sliding down, until she sat crumpled on the expensive tiles that suddenly felt like prison bars. "Sarah?" David's voice carried through the bedroom. "Everything okay in there?" She couldn't answer. How could she tell her husband of 15 years that once again their hopes had been crushed? How could she face another month of his forced optimism, another round of fertility treatments, another family gathering where his mother would ask with that practiced smile when they were finally going to give her grandchildren? The bathroom. Door opened slowly. David appeared, his salt and pepper hair still messy from sleep, his kind brown eyes immediately finding the discarded test. His face fell, but he quickly masked it with the same gentle expression he'd worn through every disappointment. "It's okay," he whispered, kneeling beside her. "We'll try again." "No." The word escaped her lips before she could stop it. "I can't do this anymore, David. I can't keep pretending that next time will be different." He pulled her into his arms and she let herself cry against his chest. Through the window, she could hear the ocean waves crashing against the rocks below their Monterey Bay home. The sound that once brought her peace now felt like a constant reminder of time passing, of dreams slipping away like sand through her fingers. 3 months later, David stood in his office overlooking the harbor, watching fishing boats return with their morning catch. His construction company had built half the waterfront developments in the area, and his reputation as an honest businessman was unshakable. But success felt hollow when your wife cried herself to sleep every night, when family dinners became minefields of awkward silences and pitying glances. The knock on his door interrupted his brooding. "Come in." His secretary, Mrs. Chen, entered with a shy young woman trailing behind her. "Mr. Hartwell, this is Elena Rodriguez. She's here about the housekeeper position." David looked up from his paperwork and something in his chest shifted. The woman standing before him couldn't be more than 25, with long dark hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and intelligent hazel eyes that seemed to take in everything. She wore a modest blue dress that somehow made her natural beauty more striking, not less. "Mr. Hartwell," Eleanor said, stepping forward with confidence despite her obvious nervousness. "Thank you for seeing me. I know I don't have traditional experience, but I'm a hard worker and a quick learner." Her voice carried a slight accent, musical and warm. David found himself leaning forward, drawn in by something he couldn't quite name. "Tell me about yourself, Miss Rodriguez." "I grew up in a small town in Central Valley. My mother raised 3 children alone after my father passed, so I learned early how to manage a household. I speak Spanish, English, and French fluently. I'm good with numbers, organization, and I love cooking." She paused, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "I know Mrs. Hartwell has been through a difficult time. I want you to know that discretion and kindness are just as important to me as keeping a clean house." David felt something crack inside his chest. This stranger understood his wife's pain without being told the details. "When can you start?" 2 weeks later, Eleanor had transformed their home. The depression that had settled over the house like fog lifted gradually as she worked. She didn't just clean, she brought life back into forgotten corners. Fresh flowers appeared on tables. The smell of homemade bread drifted from the kitchen. Sarah, who hadn't smiled in months, actually laughed when Elena taught her a traditional Mexican recipe. But it was the little things that broke David's heart and mended it simultaneously. Elena would sit with Sarah during her bad days, never offering empty platitudes, just quiet company. She organized David's chaotic home office without touching a single important document. She seemed to anticipate needs before they were voiced. And then there were the children from the neighborhood. David first noticed it on a Saturday morning when he saw Elena in their backyard, patiently teaching 7-year-old Tommy from next door how to plant tomatoes. The boy's mother had left 6 months ago, and his father worked double shifts to make ends meet. "She's amazing with kids," Sarah said, appearing beside David at the window. For the first time in months, his wife's voice held something other than sadness. Elena looked up at that moment, catching both of them watching. She smiled and waved, dirt smudged on her cheek. Tommy, clinging to her side like she was the most important person in his world. David felt his heart skip in a way that terrified him. That evening, after Elena had gone home to her small apartment downtown, Sarah brought up the subject that had been haunting them both. "The specialist called today," she said, her voice steady but her hands shaking as she poured wine. "Dr. Martinez confirmed what we already knew. My eggs are simply too damaged. Even if we tried IVF again, the chances are less than 1%. David set down his glass carefully. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe it's time we faced reality. We're never going to have children the traditional way." She looked at him with eyes that held 15 years of marriage, 15 years of shared dreams and crushing disappointments. "But maybe there are other ways." "Adoption?" he asked, though they'd discussed it before. The waiting lists were years long, and at 45 he wondered if they'd be considered too old. Sarah shook her head slowly. "I've been thinking about something else, something that might be unconventional, but..." She paused, gathering courage. "What if we found someone willing to help us? Someone who could carry a child for us?" David's breath caught. Surrogacy. They'd briefly considered it years ago, but dismissed it as too complicated, too expensive, too fraught with emotional landmines. "I know it sounds crazy," Sarah continued, "but watching Elena with those children today, seeing how naturally maternal she is, I can't stop thinking about it." The words hung in the air between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. David felt his practical mind racing through possibilities while his heart hammered with dangerous hope. "Sarah, we barely know her. This kind of arrangement, it could complicate everything. Or it could save everything," she whispered. "David, I'm drowning. Every day that passes without children feels like another small death. I know this sounds desperate because it is desperate. But what if Elena would consider it? She mentioned she wants to go back to school but can't afford it. What if we could help each other?" That night, David lay awake, staring at the ceiling while Sarah slept restlessly beside him. The idea his wife had planted was taking root in his mind, growing into something that both excited and terrified him. Elena was kind, intelligent, healthy, and beautiful. She clearly needed money for her education, and the way she interacted with children was magical. But the ethical implications made his stomach churn. Helena worked for them. There was an inherent power imbalance. What if she felt pressured to agree? What if it destroyed the peace she'd brought to their home? Yet, as he listened to Sarah's quiet whimpers in her sleep, he knew they were running out of options. His wife was disappearing a little more each day, consumed by a grief that no amount of love or success could heal. The next morning, Elena arrived early as always, humming softly as she prepared breakfast. David watched her move around the kitchen with easy grace, her dark hair catching the morning sunlight, and felt his resolve wavering. "Elena," he said suddenly, "could we talk for a moment?" She turned, immediately alert to the serious tone in his voice. "Of course, Mr. Hartwell. Is everything all right? Please sit down." He gestured to the kitchen table where they'd shared so many casual conversations over the past months. "Sarah and I have been thinking about something, and we wanted to discuss it with you." Eleanor sat, her hands folded calmly in her lap, but David caught the slight tension in her shoulders. She was always so composed, so professional, but he'd learned to read the subtle signs of her emotions. "As you know, Sarah and I have been trying to have children for several years without success. The doctors have told us it's not possible, through conventional means." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We've been considering surrogacy, and we wondered if you might be interested in discussing such an arrangement." The silence stretched between them. Eleanor's face revealed nothing, but David saw her fingers tighten almost imperceptibly. "You want me to carry your child," she said finally, her voice carefully neutral. "We want to discuss the possibility. Of course, there would be significant financial compensation. Enough to pay for your medical school tuition and more. Full medical coverage, legal protection, complete discretion. Eleanor stood abruptly and walked to the window overlooking the garden where she'd been teaching Tommy to plant vegetables. David held his breath, certain she was about to quit, about to walk out of their lives, and take the last of Sarah's hope with her. "I need to think about this," she said without turning around. "Of course, take all the time you need. And Elena?" He waited until she looked at him. "If you decide this isn't something you're comfortable with, nothing changes. Your job, our relationship, everything stays exactly the same." She nodded once and returned to her work, but David noticed her hands trembling as she sorted through the mail. He'd opened Pandora's box, and now all he could do was wait to see what escaped. That afternoon, while Sarah was at her book club, Eleanor approached him in his study. "Can I ask you something, Mr. Hartwell?" "Anything." "Why me?" The question was so simple, yet it cut straight to the heart of his confusion. Why her indeed? Because she was convenient? Because she needed money? Because watching her with children made him ache with longing? Because, "You're kind," he said finally. "Because Sarah smiles when you're here. Because I've watched you with the neighborhood children, and I've never seen anyone more naturally maternal." He paused, then decided on honesty. "And because we trust you." Eleanor studied his face for a long moment. "There's something I need to tell you first. Something about why I really came to work for you." David's blood chilled. "What do you mean?" But before she could answer, Sarah's car pulled into the driveway and Elena stepped back, the moment broken. "We'll talk tomorrow," she said quietly, and David was left wondering what secret she was hiding and whether it would destroy everything they'd built together. As he watched Elena greet Sarah with her usual warm smile, helping her with groceries and chatting about the book club meeting, David realized he was standing at a crossroads that would change all their lives forever. But which direction led to salvation and which led to heartbreak? The answer would have to wait until tomorrow, leaving him suspended in a moment of terrible, beautiful possibility. The next morning came too slowly and too quickly all at once. David had barely slept, his mind spinning with Elena's cryptic words about why she really came to work for them. Sarah had noticed his restlessness, asking twice if everything was okay, but he couldn't bring himself to worry her with possibilities he didn't yet understand. Elena arrived precisely at 7, as she had every morning for 3 months. But today David noticed the tension in her shoulders, the way she avoided his eyes as she moved through her morning routine. When Sarah left for her yoga class, the house fell into an uncomfortable silence. "You said you needed to tell me something," David said, finding Elena in the laundry room, methodically folding towels with more precision than necessary. She paused, her hands stilling on a pale blue towel that matched Sarah's eyes. "My real name is Elena Patricia Rodriguez Mendoza. My father was Antonio Mendoza." The name hit David like a physical blow. Antonio Mendoza, the contractor who'd lost everything 5 years ago when their joint venture in the harbor development fell through. David remembered the man's desperate phone calls, his pleas for more time, the way he'd broken down crying in David's office when the banks foreclosed on everything he owned. "Your father," David said slowly, pieces clicking into my place like a lock opening. "He lost his business because of me." Elena turned to face him, and for the first time since he'd known her, her carefully controlled mask slipped. Pain flashed across her features, raw and deep. "He lost everything. His construction company, our family home, his reputation. He had a heart attack 6 months later. The stress, the doctors said." David felt the air leave his lungs. "Elena, I had no idea. If I'd known who you were when you applied for the job..." "You would have turned me away," she finished. "Just like you turned him away when he begged you for help." The accusation hung between them like a blade. David remembered that day clearly. Antonio had been 3 months behind on payments, his crew walking off jobs, complaints piling up about substandard work. David had tried to help, extending deadlines, even lending money from his personal account. But when Antonio started drinking, when the quality of work became dangerous, David had been forced to cut ties. "I tried to help your father," David said quietly, "but he was drowning and he was taking others down with him. I had 40 employees, Depending on me, I couldn't risk their livelihoods. Elena's laugh was bitter. Easy to say when you still have everything. Your business, your beautiful house, your perfect reputation. Then why? David asked. Why work for us? Why be so kind to Sarah? Why help our family when you hate me? Elena's composure cracked completely. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she sank into a nearby chair. Because I came here to hurt you. I planned to get close to your family, learn your business, secrets, find some way to destroy you like you destroyed us. Her voice broke. But then I met Sarah, and I saw how much pain she was in, how much she needed someone to care about her, and you... She looked up at him with eyes full of confusion and guilt. You're nothing like I expected. You're kind. You love your wife desperately. You treat me with more respect than most people treat their own family. David sat heavily in the chair across from her. So, what happens now? I don't know, Eleanor whispered. When you asked me about the surrogacy, I realized I care about both of you too much to keep lying. But I also realized that maybe this could be a way to heal something that's been broken for too long. What do you mean? Elena wiped her tears and straightened, and David saw a glimpse of the steel beneath her gentle exterior. My father made mistakes, terrible ones. The drinking, the shortcuts, the lies to cover up problems. I spent 5 years blaming you for our family's destruction, but living in your home, watching how you handle business, how you treat people. I understand. Now that he was responsible for his own downfall. She paused, gathering courage. But you could have done more. You could have found a way to help him that didn't involve cutting him off completely. You chose the easy path, the safe path for your business. David felt the truth of her words settle in his chest like stones. You're right. I was so focused on protecting what I'd built that I forgot about the human cost. So maybe this is a chance for both of us to do something different, Eleanor said. I can help you and Sarah have the family you desperately want. You can help me finish my education and build a life my father would be proud of. And maybe, somehow, we can both find peace. The conversation was interrupted by Sarah's return. She bustled in with grocery bags and excited chatter about running into old friends, but she stopped short when she saw their faces. What's wrong? She asked immediately. Did something happen? David and Elena exchanged glances. Without speaking, they'd reached an agreement to handle the revelation carefully. Elena and I were discussing the surrogacy arrangement, David said. She has some concerns we need to work through. Sarah set down her bags and joined them, her face a mixture of hope and apprehension. What kind of concerns? Elena took a deep breath. I want to be completely honest with both of you about my motivations and my circumstances. If we're going to do this, there can't be any secrets between us. Over the next hour, Elena carefully revealed her connection to Antonio Mendoza. Though she softened the edges of her original vengeful intentions, she focused instead on her father's struggles, her family's financial devastation, and her desire to use this opportunity to rebuild what had been lost. Sarah listened with growing understanding and compassion. When Elena finished, Sarah reached across the table and took her hands. I'm so sorry for what your family went through, Sarah said, and I'm grateful that you trusted us with the truth. It doesn't change how we feel about you or this arrangement. If anything, it makes me more certain that this is meant to be. David watched his wife's face transform with renewed purpose. For months, Sarah had been consumed by her own loss, but now she was focused on healing someone else's pain. It was like watching her come back to life. Over the following weeks, they worked out the details with lawyers and doctors. Elena would be compensated enough to pay for medical school and support her mother, who still lived in the Central Valley. The pregnancy would be achieved through artificial insemination, keeping everything clinical and professional. Elena would continue living in her apartment and working part-time while David and Sarah covered all medical expenses and provided additional support as needed. The first attempt failed. So did the second. On the third try, Elena called them both into the kitchen on a Tuesday morning, her face glowing with nervous excitement. I need to show you something, she said, placing a pregnancy test on the counter. The plus sign was unmistakable. Sarah burst into tears, covering her face with shaking hands. David felt his knees go weak. After all the disappointments, all the false hopes, this little plastic stick represented everything they'd dreamed of. Elena watched them with a complex expression. Joy, satisfaction, and something else David couldn't quite identify. "We did it," she said softly. The first few weeks of pregnancy passed smoothly. Elena continued her regular duties while carefully monitoring her health. She attended every doctor's appointment with both David and Sarah. The three of them crowded into examination rooms, marveling at ultrasound images and listening to the tiny heartbeat that represented their shared future. But David began to notice subtle changes in Elena's behavior. She spent long minutes talking quietly to her belly when she thought no one was watching. She researched baby names obsessively, filling notebooks with possibilities. Most concerning, she started making decisions about her prenatal care without consulting them, switching to a different obstetrician and requesting specific tests. "She's getting attached," Sarah observed one evening as they watched Elena through the kitchen window, her hand resting protectively on her growing bump as she watered the garden. "It's natural," David replied, though he felt the same unease. "She's carrying our child. Some attachment is probably healthy." "Is it our child, though?" Sarah asked quietly. "Or is it hers?" The question haunted David. Legally, they'd covered all the bases. Elena had signed extensive contracts relinquishing parental rights, but emotionally, the lines were blurring in ways none of them had anticipated. At the 16-week appointment, the ultrasound technician grew quiet, moving the wand around Elena's belly with increased intensity. "Is everything okay?" Elena asked, gripping David's hand. The technician smiled. "Everything's perfect, you're having twins." The room went silent except for the sound of two tiny heartbeats echoing through the speakers. David felt the world tilt on its axis. Twins. Not one child, but two. Double the joy, double the complications, double the ways this could all go wrong. Elena stared at the screen with an expression David had never seen before. Pure, fierce love. Not the professional care she'd shown throughout the pregnancy, but something primal and protective that made his stomach drop. "Twins," she whispered, and David heard a world of meaning in that single word. That night, Eleanor asked to speak with them privately. She sat across from David and Sarah at their kitchen table, her hands folded over her now visible bump, and David knew their carefully constructed arrangement was about to change forever. "I need to renegotiate our agreement," Elena said, her voice steady but determined. "The contract we signed was for one child. This situation is different." "What kind of changes are you thinking about?" Sarah asked, though David could see the fear creeping into her eyes. "More compensation, obviously. Carrying twins is higher risk, more demanding physically, but also..." Elena paused, seeming to gather courage. "I want more involvement in their lives, not as their mother, but as someone important, an aunt, a godmother, something permanent." David felt the first stirrings of panic. "Elena, we've already established legal boundaries. Legal boundaries that don't account for what this really is," Elena interrupted, her composure cracking slightly. "You can't ask someone to carry your children, to go through 9 months of pregnancy, to give birth, and then expect them to disappear completely. It doesn't work that way." Sarah leaned forward. "What exactly are you asking for?" "I want to be part of their extended family. I want to watch them grow up, to be someone they can come to when they need advice or support. I want holidays together, birthday parties, graduation ceremonies." Elena's voice grew stronger with each word. "I want to matter to them, and I want them to matter to me in a way that honors what we've all done together." The request was reasonable, David realized, even as it terrified him. Elena wasn't asking to raise the children, but she also wasn't willing to be relegated to the role of anonymous egg donor. She wanted something in between, something that didn't have a legal precedent or social convention to guide them. "This is more complicated than we originally discussed," David said carefully. Eleanor's eyes flashed with something that looked almost like anger. "Of course it's complicated. Did you think creating life would be simple? Did you think I could just hand over 2 babies and walk away like nothing happened? Her hands moved protectively over her belly, and David realized they were witnessing Elena's maternal instincts awakening. The woman who had efficiently managed their household was transforming into someone fiercer, more demanding, more unpredictable. "We need time to think about this," Sarah said, ever the peacemaker. "These are big decisions that affect all of us. Time is something we have less of every day," Elena replied, standing up. "In 5 months, these babies will be born. We need to figure out what happens then, or we're all going to be in for a very difficult surprise." She left them sitting at the table, staring at each other across a gulf of new uncertainties. "What do we do?" Sarah whispered. David didn't have an answer. The woman they'd trusted with their deepest hopes was changing the rules in the middle of the game. But as he watched Elena's silhouette through the window, her hand still pressed against her belly, he wondered if they had any choice but to adapt to whatever she decided their future should look like. After all, she was carrying the most important thing in their world, and she was beginning to act like she knew exactly how much power that gave her. 3 weeks after Elena's ultimatum, David received a phone call that shattered their already fragile peace. He was in his office when his secretary announced that Mrs. Rodriguez was on the line, asking to speak with him urgently. "Mr. Hartwell," came a heavily accented voice, trembling with emotion. "This is Carmen Rodriguez, Elena's mother. I know about the arrangement you have with my daughter." David's blood turned to ice. "Mrs. Rodriguez, I think there may be some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding," she interrupted. "My Elena, she tells me everything, and I am calling to stop this madness before it destroys all of you." The woman's voice carried a weight of authority that reminded David painfully of Elena's quiet strength. "I think this is something we should discuss in person, Mrs. Rodriguez." "I am already here," she replied. "In Monterey. Elena does not know I have come. We must meet before she finds out." An hour later, David sat across from Carmen Rodriguez in a small cafe downtown, studying the woman who had raised Elena. She was in her early 50s, with graying hair pulled back severely, and Elena's intelligent eyes set in a face lined by years of hard work and worry. She clutched a worn purse in her hands, as if it contained everything she owned. "My daughter has told you about her father," Carmen began without preamble. "She has. I'm deeply sorry for your family's losses." Carmen's laugh was sharp. "Sorry is easy word, it costs nothing." She leaned forward, her gaze piercing. "But I did not come here for apologies. I came because my Elena is making terrible mistake, and you are letting her. I don't understand. She thinks she can play house with you and your wife, that she can have babies and keep them close like some fairy tale family. But babies grow up, Mr. Hartwell. They ask questions. They want to know why their Aunt Elena looks at them like a mother, why she cries when they get hurt, why she knows things about them that only a mother should know." David felt his carefully constructed world shifting again. Elena signed. Contracts, Carmen spat. "My daughter is young, Mr. Hartwell. She thinks with her heart, not her head. She sees your wife's pain and wants to fix it. She sees your longing for children and wants to give you what you desire. But she does not see the pain that comes after, when she must watch other people raise the children she carried in her body." The woman's words cut deep because David recognized their truth. In his desperation to have children, had he taken advantage of Elena's youth and compassion? "What do you want me to do?" he asked. "End this arrangement, pay her what you promised and send her back home to finish her schooling. Find another way to have your family that does not involve destroying my daughter's heart." David stared into his coffee, seeing his reflection distorted in the dark liquid. "It's too late for that. She's 6 months pregnant with twins. Ending the arrangement now would be what? Difficult, expensive, complicated?" Carmen's voice rose slightly. "Mr. Hartwell, my daughter came to your house planning to hurt you. Instead, she has fallen in love with the idea of being part of your family. But love is not enough. Love does not change the fact that she will never truly be their mother, and that truth will poison everything beautiful about what you think you are building." Before David could respond, His phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Elena collapsed at home. We're at the hospital. The cafe faded around him as panic seized his chest. He stood abruptly, throwing money on the table. I have to go. Elena's in the hospital. Carmen was on her feet instantly. I am coming with you. The drive to Monterey Peninsula Hospital was silent, both of them lost in their own fears. David called Sarah twice, but her phone went straight to voicemail. By the time they reached the maternity ward, David's hands were shaking. He found Sarah in the waiting room, her face pale and streaked with tears. She looked up as he approached, relief flooding her features. They think it's just stress, she said, falling into his arms. Her blood pressure spiked, but the babies are fine. They're keeping her overnight for observation. David held his wife, feeling Carmen's presence behind him like a reproach. This was what the older woman had been trying to tell him. The stress of their complicated arrangement was literally making Elena sick. Can we see her? Carmen asked. Quietly. Sarah turned, surprised to see Elena's mother. Mrs. Rodriguez, what are you doing here? Taking care of my daughter, Carmen replied simply. Elena's hospital room was dimly lit, machines beeping softly around the bed where she lay, connected to fetal monitors. Her dark hair spread across the white pillow, and her hands rested protectively over her swollen belly even in sleep. She looked impossibly young and vulnerable. Carmen approached the bed first, smoothing Elena's hair with gentle fingers. Elena's eyes fluttered open, focusing slowly on her mother's face. Mama, she whispered, what are you doing here? I came because I was worried about you, Mija, and I was right to worry. Elena's gaze shifted to David and Sarah standing at the foot of the bed. The babies are fine, Sarah said quickly, but you scared us. Elena struggled to sit up, and Carmen helped her adjust the pillows. I don't understand why I collapsed. I felt fine this morning, and then suddenly, everything went black. David exchanged glances with Carmen, both of them understanding what Elena couldn't yet see. The weight of carrying children for another family, the emotional complexity of their arrangement, the stress of trying to be everything to everyone, was taking its toll. Elena, Carmen said gently, we need to talk, all of us. Over the next hour, Carmen laid out her concerns with the bluntness of a mother protecting her child. She spoke about the impossibility of Elena's position, the long-term emotional consequences, the unfairness of asking a young woman to sacrifice her own dreams of motherhood for someone else's happiness. Elena listened with growing agitation. Mama, you don't understand. This isn't just about money anymore. I care about David and Sarah. I want to help them. And what about you, Mija? What about your own future, your own family someday? I can have both, Elena insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. David had remained silent throughout the conversation, but now he found himself speaking words he hadn't planned. Maybe your mother is right, Elena. Maybe we've asked too much. Of you. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Are you trying to get rid of me after everything we've been through? No, Sarah said firmly, moving to Elena's side. That's not what he means. We're all just worried about you. This arrangement has become more complicated than any of us anticipated. Elena's tears spilled over. I know it's complicated, but I can't just walk away from these babies. They're part of me now, literally growing inside my body. How can you ask me to pretend they don't matter? The room fell silent except for the steady beeping of the fetal monitors. Each heartbeat was a reminder of the two lives caught in the middle of their adult complications. What if we found a different way? Sarah said suddenly. What if instead of the original arrangement, we became an actual extended family? Not pretending, not hiding, but really blending our lives together. David stared at his wife. Sarah, what are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we stop pretending this is a simple business transaction. Elena is carrying our children, but she's also become family to us. Maybe the solution isn't to fight that reality, but to embrace it. Carmen shook her head. And when Elena wants to marry someday, have her own children, what then? She will be forever tied to this family, never free to build her own life. Maybe that's not such a terrible thing, Elena said quietly. Maybe some families are built in unconventional ways, and maybe that's okay. The conversation was interrupted by Dr. Martinez entering the room. The obstetrician looked concerned as she checked Elena's chart. "How are you feeling, Elena?" "Better, just tired." Dr. Martinez nodded. "Your blood pressure is back to normal, which is good. But I'm concerned about the cause of the spike. Have you been under unusual stress lately?" Elena glanced around the room at the three people who had become the center of her world. "You could say that." "Elena, I need to ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me." Dr. Martinez pulled up a chair beside the bed. "During your prenatal appointments, you've mentioned feeling conflicted about this pregnancy. Can you tell me more about that?" Elena's face flushed. "I don't know what you mean." "You've asked multiple times about the possibility of complications that might require extended bed rest, keeping you in the hospital longer. You've inquired about postpartum depression and how it might affect a surrogate. You've even asked about the legal implications if a surrogate changed her mind about relinquishing parental rights." Dr. Martinez's voice was gentle but firm. "These aren't typical concerns for someone in a straightforward surrogacy arrangement." David felt the ground shifting beneath him again. Elena had been having doubts all along, doubts she hadn't shared with them. "I just want to be prepared for all possibilities," Elena said weakly. "Elena," Dr. Martinez continued, "I've been doing this for 20 years. I've seen surrogacy arrangements work beautifully, and I've seen them destroy everyone involved. The key is absolute honesty about expectations and emotions. If you're having second thoughts about this arrangement, now is the time to address them." Elena looked around the room again, her gaze lingering on each face. David saw the moment she made her decision, saw the shift from uncertainty to resolution in her eyes. "I need to tell you all something," she said, her voice gaining strength. "Something I should have said weeks ago." Carmen gripped her daughter's hand. "What is it, mija?" Eleanor took a deep breath. "I'm not sure one of the babies is David's." The words fell into the room like stones into still water, sending ripples of shock through everyone present. David felt his world fracture completely. "What do you mean?" Sarah whispered. Elena's tears came freely now. "When we started the artificial insemination process, I was also involved with someone back home, Miguel, a friend from childhood. I didn't think it mattered because the timing seemed wrong, but now I'm not sure." David's legs gave out, and he sank into the nearest chair. Months of hope, months of planning, and now this revelation that might invalidate everything they'd built. "How long have you known?" he managed to ask. "I've suspected for weeks, but I kept hoping I was wrong. The timing is close enough that both babies could be yours, or one could be Miguel's, or..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Carmen closed her eyes as if in prayer. "Elena, why didn't you tell us sooner?" "Because I was terrified you'd all hate me, because I'd grown to love this family we were building, and I couldn't bear the thought of destroying it." Sarah stood frozen by the window, staring out at the parking lot below. When she finally spoke, her voice was unnaturally calm. "We'll need genetic testing after the babies are born," Dr. Martinez confirmed. "Doing it now would carry risks we don't need to take." David found himself thinking with startling clarity despite the emotional chaos. "So we wait. We continue as planned, and after the birth we deal with whatever the tests reveal." Eleanor looked at him with surprise and gratitude. "You're not angry?" David realized with shock that he wasn't angry. Hurt, confused, scared, but not angry. "Elena, these past months, watching you carry our children, seeing how much you care about them and about us, I've already fallen in love with both babies regardless of genetics. If one of them isn't biologically mine, it doesn't change how I feel." Sarah turned from the window, tears streaming down her face. "David's right. We've come too far to let biology dictate our family." The room fell silent again as the implications settled around them. They were choosing to move forward into uncharted territory, bound together by love and hope rather than contracts and expectations. "There's something else," Elena said quietly. Miguel knows about the pregnancy. He's been asking questions, wanting to be involved. If one of the babies is his, then we'll figure it out, Sarah said firmly. All of us together, because that's what families do. Carmen looked around the room with wonder and fear. You are all crazy, she said finally. But maybe crazy is what it takes to build something real. 6 weeks later, Elena gave birth to 2 healthy babies, Isabella and Gabriel. The delivery was complicated, requiring an emergency C-section that left Elena weak and emotional. David held both babies in the first moments of their lives, overwhelmed by love that transcended every concern about genetics or custody arrangements. Sarah cried as she held Isabella, the daughter she'd dreamed of for 15 years, finally in her arms. Eleanor, still groggy from surgery, watched them with tears of joy and loss mingling on her cheeks. The genetic tests confirmed what they'd all suspected might happen. Gabriel was David's biological son, but Isabella was Miguel's daughter. The revelation could have destroyed their unconventional family, but instead, it seemed to strengthen their resolve to make their arrangement work. Miguel, a kind young teacher from Elena's hometown, initially demanded custody of Isabella. But after meeting David and Sarah, after seeing the love and stability they could provide, he agreed to a shared arrangement that gave him regular visits while allowing Isabella to grow up alongside her twin brother. A year later, David stood in their backyard watching an impossible scene. Sarah and Elena working together to set up birthday decorations for the twins' first birthday. Carmen teaching Gabriel to walk, while Miguel played peekaboo with Isabella, and neighbors stopping by to coo over the babies who belonged to everyone and no one all at once. Their family looked nothing like what David had imagined when he first dreamed of becoming a father. It was messier, more complicated, full of legal documents and scheduling conflicts, and the constant navigation of multiple adults who all loved the same children for different reasons. But as Gabriel took his first wobbling steps into David's arms, as Isabella clapped her hands and laughed at Sarah's silly faces, as Elena and Miguel worked together to light the birthday candles, David realized they had created something beautiful from the wreckage of broken dreams and impossible circumstances. Sarah appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. "No regrets?" she asked softly. David looked around at their unconventional, complicated, perfect family. Elena was helping Carmen serve cake while Miguel held Isabella, and Gabriel grabbed for the colorful balloons tied to every available surface. "No regrets," he said, meaning it completely. "Not a single one." The promise that had started as a desperate attempt to have children had evolved into something none of them could have predicted. A redefinition of what family could mean when love mattered more than biology, when forgiveness mattered more than perfection, and when the courage to embrace the impossible created space for miracles to unfold in the most ordinary moments of their extraordinary lives.